Welcome to Let's Get Writing. I'm your host, Kathryn Taylor, and this is the show where we tell the stories behind the stories, and quite often they are as intriguing as the books themselves. Today, my guest is a motivational speaker, an author, a certified health and fitness coach, a meditation leader, and a nature photographer. I think I've covered it all, and if I haven't, we'll certainly find out when we chat with her. Please join me in welcoming Leslie Bridger to Let's Get Writing. Hi, Leslie, how are you?
I am incredible, Catherine. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. And yes, you got it all right.
I got it right. It was wonderful to read your book, Leslie, Alive and Thriving. I enjoyed it so much, and I find you to be such a positive person. Your energy is infectious, uplifting, but I'm thinking it wasn't always that way, according to the story in your book. And so can you tell us a little bit about the book, how it came to be, and that inciting incident in your life?
Mm-hmm. I, well, let me start by saying I used to live away. I'm a proud Newfoundlander, proud Newfoundlander, and I lived away for 27 years. 23 of those years, I lived in Toronto, like a lot of people,
Mhm.
working in the corporate world. And I had two mental and emotional breakdowns to start truly living my life the way that I wanted to. And then I had to have a near death experience to truly start taking care of me. That's what the book is about, because I had put my health care on the back burner because I was giving to everyone else, personally and professionally. Like, I put everyone else and their needs first. But in the book, Alive and Thriving, it was an incredible journey. I was finally in a place of taking care of my own well being before the incident that I write about in the book. But I wasn't truly living and breathing what I knew I needed to do. You know, it's a journey.
Mhm.
While I had a bicycle accident, I had a near death experience, which I'm sure we'll go into a little more detail. I was taken on a journey in the sky. And throughout this interview, we can hear more about it, but it opened my eyes to believing in the impossible and to understand the what I had been learning beforehand, that I truly needed to see it and believe it before it actually manifested in my life. The corporate woman in me was, well, I don't really get that. Like, I have to make things happen. And so I needed that experience to truly open up to everything I had been learning before it.
You know, Leslie, in your book, you have, well, there, I think the five um, platforms or
Divine healing
healing,
truths.
yes. And in there, you talk about things, putting your hand on your chest and I am loved, I am worthy, such things as that. And I think, why do you think that we struggle so much with believing this about ourselves? And I don't mean to make assumptions about people, but so often I encounter that in my life and sometimes even feel it myself. Why as humans do we have this disconnect?
My understanding, and again, I would never have used these words as the corporate woman, but
Hmm.
since then, I've come to understand life on a whole different level. We are these energetic beings who come here in these bodies that are our vessels. When we're born, we remember all of this, that we are beautiful beings, that we are worthy, that we matter, that the things we are here to do are important. But then as we get caught up in the 3D world, it's like we forget all of that. We forget. And then we start not believing in ourselves, and we start thinking that well, no one really is going to pay attention to what I have to say, or when I said this, people called me stupid or crazy or what's wrong with you. So that's what happens. We forget our light, and just our experiences, this is from my own experience,
Mm-hmm.
that our light is dimmed and dimmed and dimmed because the people around us don't understand it. That's my understanding, is that we come to earth as these bright beings, but then we're meant to forget so that we go through the process of remembering again so we can anchor it on a deeper level. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my understanding.
It does to me. All the different readings I've done, it does make perfect sense that that happens. We get mired in the weight of the world. And we're certainly mired at this time as well. And these things play up on us. You mentioned how your corporate self wouldn't say these things and wouldn't believe these things. It's the to-do mentality. I must affect what happens by my work. But the work that you do now is internal. It's so different. It's magical. And I think if we think of people like Louise Hay, Heal Yourself, it's disease begins within the mind, and the body can heal itself, which is some of the experiences, and I want to get into these with you. First of all, do you think that bicycle accident that you had when you were caught up with the corporate world, probably at that time I think you had started, you were a photographer of nature, but you weren't listening. Do you think that's the way the world reminded you to slow down?
It's, I understand that everything is a gift. It was the biggest gift of my life. Almost losing my life was an incredible gift. It's like my journey here on earth, it was like I had to go through this. I'm a slow learner, so I had to have not one, but two mental and emotional breakdowns where I started to take care of me and listen to this, my heart and the messages, my higher self that was trying to say, there's a better way, honey. I had to have that to truly, truly live and breathe what I was only tentatively teaching beforehand. Because if I didn't live and breathe what I write about in the book, I wouldn't be here. My family and friends were told my brain injury was so severe that I would never function again, probably never function again, and that they would have to look after me for the rest of my life. But here I am, very much alive and thriving. If you look at the picture on the screen, you can kind of see a little smile because I would close my eyes a lot after the brain surgery and connect with the bigger energy where I was shown what I needed to do, or actually not necessarily what I needed to do, but the energy field I needed to be in to heal. And so it was just being in this place of love, peace, and joy, truly feeling myself walking on the pathway as a photographer, doing what I love to do, things that bring me joy. I had to be in that space, being it, so that I could actually help make it happen and unfold. The
Mm-hmm.
corporate me would never have understood that. But I'm here as proof to show you that you truly need to think it, believe it, feel it, sense it in every cell of your being. So while I was lying in that hospital bed, I couldn't control the left side of my body. My left arm and my left leg would shake uncontrollably. I couldn't walk up and down stairs. I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk again. I forgot words. I couldn't remember all of that. But I would just every day close my eyes, place my hands on my heart, smile, and I could see myself walking on that pathway, feel the sun on my face. I could hear the birds singing. I could feel the wind blowing through my hair. It's like I was there. And the more that I did that, the more I became it.
Fascinating. And we forget the power of our own self to heal. Those are some of that's also included. I know how to heal myself. I know how to do the things to heal me. I know what things I should not do and what things I should do. We know this, but we don't always hear or slow down or take the time. I'm listening to what you're saying, and you're proof of it. Along that journey, as you healed, you used some of the things you were developing, did you not? At that point, did you have that video of images and different things you've been working on?
Yes, so before the accident, when I left the corporate world, I started speaking across the country. I mean, my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer 4 days after I left the corporate world. And it was an opportunity for me to share the things that helped me to heal from, a nervous breakdown or a mental emotional breakdown. I wasn't sure if it was going to help with physical healing. My mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given months to live, literally 4 days after I left the corporate world. And my dad, who was a physician, I came home and spent 5 months. I was still living in Toronto. Mom and dad were living here in St. John's, Newfoundland. And I shared with mom the things I write about. I hadn't written the book then, but the things that I was teaching my mom are the things that I write about in the book. So I shared with her, I said, you know what, Mom? There are always a small percentage of people who survive a terminal cancer diagnosis. I had been guided to read 10 books at least about people who survived terminal cancer. I didn't know anybody who had it. I didn't understand that I was being prepared. So she said, you're right, honey, I will be. My dad looked at me like he had his arms crossed. He never said anything to me, but he looked at me like I was crazy. And we laughed, we played, I helped her heal, cook healing meals, affirmations, all of these things that helped me. 6 months after her diagnosis, she went for another CAT scan, and Dad came home wide-eyed. And he looked at me and he said, Leslie, because he was a radiologist, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Your mother's cancer is virtually gone. And the corporate me was there, oh my God, this stuff works. And that's when I knew I needed to start sharing this, not only here in Newfoundland with other people, but across the country. And that's when I started speaking and sharing these tools at healthcare conferences and creating these products, DVDs with photos set to music. You can see in the background, this is one of my nature photographs, silk screened on sheer material. I created a whole bunch of products bringing nature in to help people to heal.
And your parents and my parents were very good friends. So as you tell me this story, I know this. I didn't know the role that you played, but I knew your mother and your father, and we would sometimes go and visit. And I think that's where I first really met you. I mean, we grew up for a very short period in Grand Falls, Windsor, but that's where I'm going to say re-met you. And met the real you. And it was amazing. Your mother was a wonderful, I'm not going to say cook, I'm going to say chef, and just her creative energy and, the whole experience, and just to see your mother at that time, she certainly was not sick. Just amazing. You mentioned you want to bring this to other people, and you want to bring it to people all around the world. And I'm sure your book is one of the important ways of doing that. How was writing that? How was that experience for you, putting it into the book and then finding a publisher? I don't want to spend too much time on this, Leslie, because I'm so engaged with your story, but I think people will want to know that, how you made that connection.
Right. Well, it was interesting. So a year after the accident, well, it wasn't quite a year, my friend Freeman Patterson invited me on his property to heal, and it's related to the book. I went there to heal. This was taken almost a year to the day after the accident. On this property, I had been going there for years to heal from mental breakdowns. Mother Earth is so nurturing. And there's a place on his property that I would just go and sit in a chair, and I was guided that I was meant to write a book. I didn't realize it was going to take 19 years to write it, but it was, I mean, I've journaled my whole life. This book started probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I understood it was time, and I just, what I would do, again, it wasn't pushing and forcing. I set time every day, like 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and I would sit. Some days nothing came, and then other days I just knew it just, whew. It's like I was connecting to the words that were meant to flow through me of my story that I was meant to share, and then it would. And there was a publishing company that I had met when I first moved back here. It's just all of a sudden it came into, I think, Facebook. I don't even remember, but I knew in my heart I needed to connect with this woman. She was there to help people write their transformational stories. So 2 years before this book, I wrote a story in Turning Point Moments anthology, and it's called This Is Me. It was about my journey, waking up and remembering that there was more to life. I had been working in the corporate world and forgot who I was as a writer and a photographer. And as I stood there looking at myself, I didn't even recognize the woman. I was 100 pounds heavier than I am. I'd completely forgotten me. And I knew I needed to get back out and start journaling again, writing, and capturing the healing power of the natural world. And that was my story that led me to this, to writing this.
Wonderful. And at the time I was reading in your book about the time you spent with Freeman Patterson, I just had to go look up and read more about him and his property. What an oasis. It's there in New Brunswick. It's going to be a treasured place forever. And just even watching that video about his life and what he went through to arrive where he was with his photography, what a connection for you to have made, Leslie. As a nature photographer, to be, I think you spent, was it a month or more on the property, or was it up to 3 months?
Well, I've been going there a long time, and because I connect so deeply with Mother Earth, and he understands that I'm here to help people bring in the healing power of the natural world, I've been gifted with many months there. So this past summer, I was there for a month. I'm going 3 months this summer. I go for weeks or months at a time, and I get to stay at his cottage on the property, which is literally just steps from his home.
What a wonderful gift. I can only imagine the work you do there. The healing power of nature. You discovered that, and you evolved yourself into it. I mean, what can you tell to people? What can you share? People say, oh, go hug a tree. But yeah, go hug a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
It was interesting. Why not? So I used to quote before the accident, when I was speaking at healthcare conferences, the corporate me needed, well, sorry, that's my reminder to breathe and connect within.
Let's breathe.
I thought I turned that off, but it was perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, so I always understood that I felt better when I was outside from a young child. I didn't understand, as the corporate me, when I would talk about the healing power of the natural world, I would quote study after study to the medical, to the doctors, to the nurses. While I was on the other side, I was shown that we are so much more than our physical body. We're energy, as are the trees and the grass, except they don't question themselves. They don't think I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I'm not good enough, it's too late, it's too early, whatever. They are resonating at the energy of divine perfection. So when we go out and are around that, even if we think it's nuts and don't believe it, that energy is there to help raise our vibration. If we believe it, we plug in more deeply than, those that don't. it's like, okay, whew, this energy, it helps release all the doubts, the fears, all the heavy energy, all the disbelief, and helps replace it with divine love, helping us remember that we really are beautiful beings and that we're perfect exactly as we are. Right now, not later at some point when we do X, Y, and Z, but right now. In our imperfection, we are perfect.
Very nicely said, Leslie. And you now settled back in Newfoundland. And as we said before, you once lived in the city. For people who live in environments that are less in touch with nature, what suggestions do you have for them?
Yes, I totally understand. I mean, there was much I loved about Toronto. When I lived there, I didn't live technically in the beaches, but I lived in the upper beaches because I needed to be close to water and close to the natural world. So, you might just find a park in your area, walk there. But even, and I didn't understand this initially, but even if you look at nature images, you watch nature videos, if you are living in a concrete jungle and it's not easy for you to get in, like that's why I have these things. I've got pine cones that I've picked up. I've got elements of the natural world all over my house, plants. But if you can't bring that into your office, have a beautiful picture of nature. And even just sitting in that energy, I was shown while I was on the other side that that energy, like my shears, the photographs, they embrace you wherever you are, whether you believe it or not, just so you know. And it's all love, so nothing to freak out about.
Leslie, with your beautiful book, first of all, where can people get it?
Yes, they can get it online on Amazon, but it's also if you're in St. John's, is at Chapters. But online is where you can buy it. If you can't find it online on Amazon, it's on Amazon Canada, but also Amazon.com. Yes, Alive and Thriving. You look up Leslie Bridger and you should find it. Email me if you can't.
There you go. Now, how do people reach you? Would it be through your webpage or Facebook?
Right. So my webpage is www.lesliebridger.com. There is a way there. I think it says hope@lesliebridger.com. You can email me. I would love it. Just so you know, for the first 5 people that sign up for my email list, I send out healing tips and tools to help you stay aligned with all that you are. You'll get a meditation, remember who you are, that helps you open you up to the possibilities of life. But for the first 5 people, I'm giving away a 30-minute free consult. So I would love to hear from you, and I would love you to be a part of the community, because no matter where you are in this journey, I want you to know that you're not alone, that there are always people around that are here to support you in the physical reality, but also in the energy world. And again, the corporate me would never have said any of this, but I understand we're bigger than these bodies and this 3D reality. There's so much more. And I was shown on the other side that even though I looked successful, I was only living about 5% of my full potential because I didn't trust and believe this bigger energy. We are powerful creators. We really are. When we learn to tap into our authentic selves, the sky is the limit.
So nice to hear you say those things, and so nice that you're providing a resource. And I say a resource for people having gone through your book. The first half is your story, and then, as you move on through the book, you provide tools and exercises. And one of the things that you said, stop reading right now, right where you are, 21 days. I just want you to do this part of the journey and take time with yourself and try speaking to yourself with kindness with these words. And so by writing this book, you've given people a tool if they're feeling this angst in the way the world is right now, if they just want to have something to guide them and help them on top of everything else you're doing. It's amazing. What's coming up next? What's in your mind? Where do you see Leslie Bridger going next, and what are you going to be doing?
I'm here to share the wisdom from the book. I'm here to deliver it worldwide. That's what I'm being guided. Whether on interviews like this, like I feel very blessed and grateful, Kathryn, and to everyone who's watching this. I had to almost die to tap into my power within. I'm here to help as many people as possible, especially overworked, high-achieving women who are doing things for everyone else, to slow down and tap into this bigger energy, because when they get to the other side, they're going to say, oh my goodness, if I had only known that beforehand. So I had to almost lose my life to get to this place. I'm here to awaken millions to their brilliance while they are still here. And that's why in part 2 of the book, I've taken the 5 divine healing truths and broken them down into 5 steps. Mm-hmm. They're simple, yet not easy to implement in your life. That's why I'm here as a guide by your side to help you.
Beautiful, Leslie.
I wish I had that.
Thank you so much for being that guide. And thank you so much for this interview today. I could spend so much time with you. And folks, thank you so much for joining me on Let's Get Writing. I feel truly honored that I can bring you guests and writers that can impact your life and hopefully encourage you to write your book. Thank you for joining us.